We start in the future timeline. Trunks preps himself as he walks towards the time machine parked at the back of Capsule Corporation. Thanks to past Bulma delving deeply into the construction of the androids by Dr. Gero, he was able to devise a device to stop the androids, the emergency stop circuit. Using this, Trunks had managed to take care of the androids in his timeline. He was now gonna go to the past timeline one last time and inform the Z Fighters of the good news. However, things were not meant to be. Trunks spots a green-looking creature. Its key was strange, peculiar, yet familiar in some way. However, it was sinister. Trunks didn't doubt for a second that this creature in front of him was evil. Trunks immediately tenses up, pulling out his sword. However, it was all for naught. Cell kills Trunks, leaving his lifeless body on the floor. Cell then inputs the time he wants to travel back into the time machine. However, in his excitement, he mistypes a single number. As Cell retreats into his lava state in order to fit into the time machine makes its way into the past. However, instead of age 763, which was where Goku at first met Trunks, Cell instead finds himself in age 743, 20 years before where he was supposed to arrive, long before even the events of Dragon Ball Z. Goku is only 6 years old at this time and is living happily with his Grandpa Gohan. Dr. Gero was still working with the Red Ribbon Army and has not yet even started his plans on Cell or Android 17 and 18. Cell realizes this and roars in frustration. As the entire Earth shakes from Cell's power, this is where we'll start off the what if for today. Let's get straight into it. Grandpa Gohan looks out the window of his house. There was an earthquake just a few days ago that caused many trees surrounding Mount Paozu to fall. It was a natural disaster. However, somehow it just didn't really feel natural to him. Grandpa Gohan shrugs it off as he makes his way towards his grandson, Son Goku. Today was a full moon, and Grandpa Gohan wanted to bring Goku out for stargazing. As he contemplated the beauty of the moon, he didn't know that that would be the last night he ever got to do so. Well, that's how it was supposed to go. However, Cell's arrival would change things up significantly. Meanwhile, Cell continues his aimless wandering. He didn't know what to do. He had regained his imperfect form and had started absorbing countless people in his conquest for more power. However, he had to wait for another 20 years if he was ever going to become perfect. He contemplated going to Dr. Gero and forcing him to construct the androids earlier. However, he dismissed the notion afterwards. Dr. Gero took nearly 20 years to complete his research on Android 17 and 18, so coercing Dr. Gero now wouldn't bring him much closer to perfection either. He had also entered Capsule Corporation to threaten Dr. Briefs to help him fuel the time machine. However, even though Dr. Brief was a genius, a time machine was still something far out of his expertise. And Bulma currently was still a teenager, and there was no way he had the experience or knowledge to help at all. Cell was in an impasse, a deadlock with no way to progress forward. That was when he suddenly felt a key signature. Nothing crazy powerful. In fact, it was insignificant compared to him. However, it was still much larger than the average human. Suffice to say, this greatly piqued Cell's interest as he started flying in the general direction of it. The closer he got, the more familiar the clean signature felt. It was Goku's. Cell arrived in the vicinity of Mount Paozu, and all he saw was destruction everywhere, and in the midst of it, a giant monkey, a giant great ape. That was when Cell remembered. In Dr. Gero's creation of Cell, he had implanted the memory of Goku and Vegeta's fight in the Saiyan saga in his minds, and he knew from that fight that Saiyans had with the power to turn into a great ape, multiplying their power tenfold. Meanwhile, Grandpa Gohan was trying his best to evade Goku's attacks. Grandpa Gohan was nimble and quick on his feet, and had multiple opportunities to attack the clumsy Grade 8 Goku. However, he refused to do so, as he did not want to hurt the little child. Not knowing how to disable Goku's transformation, all Grandpa Gohan could do was dodge and leave, and hope he could outlast Goku's transformation. However, a misstep causes Grandpa Gohan to stumble, and as he looks up, a huge brown foot starts to crash down onto him. Grandpa Gohan closes his eyes, smiling, accepting his impending death. However, 1, 2, no 3 seconds passed, and Grandpa Gohan felt no pain or crashing sound. Instead, he opens his eyes and sees a peculiar sight. A green being literally hovering in the air, holding Goku by his tail without any effort whatsoever. Grandpa Gohan had the ability to sense ki, and this being's ki, even though feeling familiar, felt malicious at the same time. Cell swings Goku around a few times and throws him into the ground before ripping out his tail. As Goku de-transforms, Cell thinks about Dr. Gero's legacy and the reason he himself was created. It was the best this child right here in front of him. However, to do so at Goku's weakest would be a disgraceful act, even for him. So Cell chooses to spare Goku this time around. After all, his main priority was perfection, and not the defeat of Goku. However, as Cell turns around and prepares to leave, Grandpa Gohan interrupts him, asking Cell for his name, and asks Cell whether he wanted to stay for dinner. After all, he had saved him, and maybe even Goku's life. Cell whips around, looking at Grandpa Gohan with suspicion and bewilderment. Was this old man really offering him a meal? He was a green-looking, alien-like creature. Cell continued staring straight at Grandpa Gohan, wondering if he had some sort of ploy up his sleeve. Grandpa Gohan, however, just continued smiling at Cell with no fear in sight. Though Grandpa Gohan looked friendly and comfortable on the outside, on the inside, he still had his guard up. After all, he could sense ki, and the feeling that Cell's ki was giving off was malicious to say the least. So Grandpa Gohan couldn't trust Cell completely. Cell ends the staring contest first, stating that he would accept Grandpa Gohan's offer. He had analyzed all the various possibilities and had deemed Grandpa Gohan of no threat to him. Grandpa Gohan simply smiles reassuringly as he picks up the unconscious Goku and beckons Cell to follow him as they make their way towards the house. At the dining table, Grandpa Gohan asks to Cell, asking his name and why he came here. Cell wasn't one to beat about the bush and states that he was here to kill Goku and become perfect. However, Grandpa Gohan simply laughs it off. Cell finishes his meal as he turns and prepares to leave. However, as he flies off, he hears Grandpa Gohan shouting from below, telling Cell to come around next week as well. Cell didn't want to admit it, but he actually rather enjoyed Grandpa Gohan's company, and the nice food he serves was also a bonus. Obviously, this doesn't just mean Cell's gonna turn good on anything. In fact, immediately after Cell leaves, he continues committing mass genocide, absorbing tens, thousands more people. However, Cell went back to thinking about his time back at Grandpa Gohan's place, how much at peace he felt. He didn't actually have an obligation to grow stronger, or even an obligation to kill Goku. He needn't worry about Dr. Gero's mission or whatever. His decisions would be purely his and his own. This drove Cell to even visit the next week as well. It was more like he wanted to prove to himself that he could and would be able to talk to Grandpa Gohan and Goku peacefully without any feelings of resentment surfacing due to Dr. Gero's program. At Goku's first meeting with Cell, Goku shows his naivety and innocence as he immediately warms up to Cell. Cell tried to scare Goku away. However, Goku was fearless and wasn't scared by Cell one bit. This feeling of comfort and peace was what made Cell visit the week after that, and then the week after that, for many weeks straight. One of the times, Cell saw Grandpa Gohan sparring with Goku and had a great idea. Currently, he was no doubt the strongest on planet Earth, maybe even the entire universe. With no one to challenge him, Cell was beginning to find his existence boring. From now on, he would start training Goku to be his rival, so that Goku could give him a good fight one day. And once that day comes by, they will have a fight to the death. Cell raises a suggestion to Grandpa Gohan, obviously omitting the latter part of his idea. Grandpa Gohan readily accepts his proposal. Throughout the past few months, Grandpa Gohan has been noticing a change in Cell. A more apt description would be how Cell's ki felt. At the start, Cell's ki was without a doubt fully malicious and evil. However, his ki was beginning to feel less and less sinister as the time went by. Cell was merciless in his training with Goku though, not giving Goku a chance to breathe. However, Goku was a Saiyan and relished the challenge that Cell gave. Cell was slowly becoming more tame as he interacted with Goku and Grandpa Gohan. However, someone had already witnessed Cell massacre thousands and would no longer stand idly by. He deemed Cell a threat. However, he knew that he was no match for Cell either, not even close. He needed a way to defeat Cell, a way that didn't rely on a direct power competition. This person was none other than the Guardian of Earth, Kami. Kami nods to Popo, trusting him to safeguard the lookout as he jumps off, heading to a certain island in the sea. On the next part, a conflict between Kami and Cell shall soon arise. Full year goes by. Cell has become a frequent visitor of the Sun family residence. He had also stopped absorbing people because Goku's attitude to obtain strength via legitimate means had also spread over to Cell. Cell now resorted to training as well, albeit not too frequently. Even though he had Saiyan cells, Frieza's and King Cole's cells were also present, resulting in Cell having somewhat of a lazy nature. So Cell bore more of a neutral attitude towards training. However, Cell's first conflict would now arise. As Cell wanders the wastelands, he suddenly feels a key signature flying towards him. Cell recognizes it immediately. It was Piccolo. Wait no, it was similar. However, it was slightly different at the same time. The unidentified individual arrives before Cell. It was none other than the Guardian of Earth, Kami. Kami asks Cell why he is here, and Cell asks the exact same question back to Kami. Kami tells Cell that he had witnessed the crime Cell had committed, and Cell would now face justice for those he slaughtered. If Cell wanted to be uncooperative, then he would have to just jump straight to it. Cell simply looks at Kami before starting to laugh. What the heck was Kami talking about? Kami suddenly places a jar on the floor. Cell's eyes widen. He recognized what Kami was doing. In the past 2 months, Kami had made his way to Kami house and requested help from Master Roshi. Upon first sight of Kami, Roshi was immediately on the defensive, as Kami pretty much looked identical to Demon King Piccolo. However, upon further clarification, Roshi calms down and decides to heed Kami's request, which was to teach Kami the Mafuba. Kami took a while to master the technique, as he didn't have enough power to try it multiple times a day. And this brings us here, the confrontation between Cell and Kami. Cell immediately jumps backwards, trying to place some distance between him and Kami. However, it was too late. Kami shouts, "Mafuba!" The green wave moves towards Cell, and Cell had no way of dodging the ki wave. Kami had caught him off guard. Cell desperately racks his brain, trying to think of a way to save himself. In the depths of Cell's programming, Dr. Gero had programmed a method to counter all the Z Fighters techniques, and luckily for Cell, the Mafuba was used multiple times. One of those times was in Piccolo Jr.'s fight against Kami in the 23rd World Tournament, where Gero's spy bots were present. Thanks to Dr. Gero, Cell already knew a way to counter the Mafuba technique. He just had to delve deeply into himself to find the solution, and that's what he did. Cell concentrates. Time slows down as Cell searches for a way to counter the Mafuba. As the green wave starts to reach Cell, Cell opens his eyes. Just like Piccolo Jr. had done to Kami in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, Cell uses the Mafuba reflecting technique and reverses the technique back onto Kami. Now it's time for Kami to panic, as Kami was swept up in his own ki wave as he struggles. However, this was all futile. Cell directs the Mafuba into the jar, then closing it, sealing Kami inside. Xiao picks up the jar, not sure what to do with Kami. He could just keep Kami inside the jar and keep the jar as a keepsake, and that's what Xiao decides to do for now. Xiao swallows the jar, keeping Kami inside him just like what Piccolo Jr. did in the 21st World Tournament. Meanwhile, on the lookout, Mr. Popo witnesses everything happened. It was tragic. Kami had failed, and now it was up to him. Kami's hopes laid on him. While Kami was learning the Mafuba, he had advised Popo to collect Dragon Balls. Kami wasn't dead, only sealed away, so the Dragon Balls were still active. However, Popo was hesitant. Popo looks at the rice cooker beside him before sighing. He couldn't deny Kami's final wish. Mr. Popo calls forth Shenron as the skies turned dark. Xiao immediately turns his head to look at the sky. He knew what had just occurred. He didn't think the Dragon Balls could do anything to him. However, he would take no chances. Xiao immediately leaps up in the air, leaps forwards at high speeds, flying towards the lookout. However, Mr. Popo had already stated his wish to the dragon, as the Dragon Balls scatter once again. Xiao arrives on the lookout, and standing beside Mr. Popo was Piccolo. Wait a second, that was Demon King Piccolo. Xiao knew exactly who he was, the original manifestation of Piccolo. However, Demon King Piccolo was looking incredibly confused at his predicament. Why was he here? And specifically, why had Popo, the literal attendant of Kami, released him from his prison? But there was something else, something far more pressing. Demon King Piccolo felt an immense power bubbling within him. His youth was restored, yet this power he had far eclipsed anything he had felt in a long time. However, with this immense power came something else. Demon King Piccolo didn't feel like himself anymore. He knew what had happened. Within him was Kami's consciousness. He could see Kami's memories, and he could feel two different personalities merging into one, his and Kami's. He was no longer Demon King Piccolo or Kami. He was the nameless Namekian, and this being in front of him, this cell, he was a threat that needed to be exterminated right away. Demon King Piccolo possesses his ki, channeling it into a powerful ki blast, the explosive demon. However, Xiao simply stands there, doesn't even try to dodge, deciding to simply meet the ki blast head on. The ki blast explodes right in Xiao's face. However, Xiao was basically unaffected. Demon King Piccolo lowers his hand in shock. However, Xiao merely grins before disappearing. Demon King Piccolo looks around frantically. However, he couldn't see a trace of Xiao. Xiao suddenly appears in front of Demon King Piccolo, with his fist already embedded in Demon King Piccolo's guts. The impact from Xiao's punch was incredible, sending Demon King Piccolo flying. Demon King Piccolo falls to the ground unconscious. Xiao looks at the unconscious Demon King Piccolo before flying away. Looks like even the nameless Namekian was no match for him. Xiao didn't perceive him as a threat, so he just left him there. Meanwhile, Popo didn't know what to do with the unconscious Demon King Piccolo. On one hand, Demon King Piccolo left him feeling a little intimidated. On the other, Demon King Piccolo's ki didn't entirely feel malicious. In fact, it felt familiar in some way. Looks like fusing back with Kami had changed Demon King Piccolo for the better. However, with Kami's death goes the Dragon Balls, and a distraught Bulma arrives at the supposed next location of the Dragon Balls with a stone in her hand instead of the 2-star Dragon Ball. Inside her bag was supposed to be the 5-star Dragon Ball as well. However, that had also turned to stone. She didn't know what had happened. However, she still decided to seek out one last Dragon Ball just to make sure. And if he had also turned to stone, she would then give up on this endeavor. He nervously knocks on the door of Grandpa Gohan's abode. Grandpa Gohan opens the door, and Bulma asks if she could see the Dragon Ball they have. Grandpa Gohan was surprised. How did this girl know they have a Dragon Ball? Whatever, Grandpa Gohan decided to entertain Bulma's request. Unfortunately for Bulma, Grandpa Gohan leads her to the once 4-star Dragon Ball that had also turned to stone. Looking at the stone in Bulma's hand, Grandpa Gohan asked Bulma whether that was a Dragon Ball as well, to which Bulma nodded. Grandpa Gohan didn't actually know the true origins of the Dragon Balls. However, he always felt like they were from a divine force of good. the fact that all of the Dragon Balls had turned to stone couldn't be a good sign. Bulma decides to stay for a while and interacts with Grandpa Gohan and Kid Goku. After all, she had ventured all the way out here on her own, and Grandpa Gohan wanted her to at least rest here a few days. On her third day here, it was time for Cell's weekly visit. When Bulma first spots the green creature, she immediately freaks out. Cell, seeing Bulma's reaction, merely smirks. However, Grandpa Gohan calms Bulma down, stating that Cell was a friend of theirs. Cell asked Grandpa Gohan why Bulma was staying here. Wasn't she and Goku supposed to go look for the Dragon Balls? Grandpa Gohan wasn't sure why Cell knew that Bulma came here. However, he just stated that somehow all the Dragon Balls had turned to stone. That was when something dawned on Cell. Cell realized he had messed up very badly, and this mistake he made would completely ruin all of his plans. So what mistake did Cell make exactly? Well, with Kami now fused into Demon King Piccolo, the Dragon Balls no longer exist. And without these Dragon Balls, there won't be any incentive for Goku to start traveling with Bulma. Without Goku starting his journey with Bulma, Goku would never meet the Red Ribbon Army. Without this essential event taking place, Dr. Gero would have had no motivation to create the androids to destroy Goku. And of course, without the androids, Cell's perfection would forever be out of reach. Cell flares up his scheme, visibly frustrated. He had to salvage the situation somehow. Grandpa Gohan looks concerned about Cell's outburst, asking Cell whether he's alright. Cell brushes Grandpa Gohan off, not bothering to answer him. Cell continues racking his brain as he walks back and forth. There was no way to guarantee Dr. Gero's eventual path of vengeance. When it came to messing with time, there were simply too many unknown variables. Cell lets out a menacing roar before flying off in anger. He needed to think. Bulma, who was extremely freaked out by Cell's appearance, decides it was time for her to leave, as she waves goodbye to Kid Goku and Grandpa Gohan. With that, their paths have officially diverged. Cell continues to wander endlessly for a few more days before finally coming up with a solution. This plan would not be something Grandpa Gohan approves of. However, Cell no longer cared about his approval. He needed to get at least some of the timeline back on track, at least enough of it, such that Cell will have a chance to become perfect in the future. On the sunny morning, Grandpa Gohan waves goodbye to Kid Goku as he goes out for the day to fish. Kid Goku sits on his bed, meditating. That was when his senses start warning him of the danger, yelling at him to duck. Kid Goku does so just in the nick of time, dodging under the unknown assailant's punch. He opens his eyes and sees Cell. Cell inwardly smiles, telling Goku that he's impressed at his improvement. Goku immediately brightens up upon seeing Cell, asking Cell if he was here for some training. Cell shakes his head, telling Kid Goku he was here for something else. He needed Goku's help. Kid Goku immediately adopts a serious look. If it was something Cell couldn't handle, it must be something serious. However, Cell tells Goku not to worry too much. It was more of a test of sorts, for Cell to gauge Goku's progress. Cell tells Goku of this big bad organization that secretly plots to take over the world. It was called the Red Ribbon Army, and he would like Goku to take it down. He made sure to make Goku promise not to tell Grandpa Gohan though. Grandpa Gohan would not be happy if he knew what Cell was doing. This would be like a secret mission of sorts that only the two of them knew about. Kid Goku immediately nods his head in excitement. He wanted to test out his skills. Kid Goku follows Cell into the air as they make their way towards the Red Ribbon Army base. Kid Goku has even less problem ravaging the base as usual, thanks to Cell's training. Within a matter of minutes, the entire Red Ribbon Army HQ was utterly destroyed. Similar to canon, Dr. Gero manages to escape and swears to seek vengeance on Goku. Cell smiles as he makes sure Dr. Gero's escape goes unnoticed, all the while making sure he himself remained perfectly hidden. All the chess pieces have fallen back into place. Cell returns Kid Goku back home, praising him for a job well done. Meanwhile, while all these were happening, Demon King Piccolo continues his observation from the lookout. God knows what Cell was up to. The kid with Cell also scared him a little, so much raw power at such a young age. Currently, he still wasn't a threat, The kid had a good soul, a pure one. His caretaker was also a good person. However, this kid could easily be led astray, and all that raw power and potential might lead to disastrous consequences in the future. In the end, Cell was still the main concerning factor. Demon King Piccolo looks behind him at those cursed doors before deciding that he had to do all it takes. So let me talk about the changes that Cell caused to the timeline. Without Goku starting on a journey with Bulma, Goku doesn't end up meeting the Pilaf gang. This means that the entire Pilaf saga is avoided. Without Goku going on this journey, Goku will unfortunately not meet any of his lifelong companions. Goku does not end up meeting Roshi. This means that Goku doesn't end up acquiring the Nimbus Cloud. Not that he needs it anymore, because he has already learned how to fly from Cell. Roshi is also unfortunately unaware of Goku's existence. Goku also doesn't meet and stop Oolong. Unfortunately, this means that Oolong continues his mass terrorizing of towns, never changing for the better. Yamcha and Puar also continue living in the desert, continuing their bandit lives. Cell knows about all these changes, however he simply doesn't care enough to rectify these changes he had made. The Fire Mountain stuff still occurs as usual, where Ox King fails to put out the fire in Fire Mountain. Ox King then sends Chi-Chi to find Master Roshi's Bancho fan to put out the fire. However, without Goku there, Chi-Chi will take a much longer time to reach Kami House, nor will she ever meet Goku and have a wedding vow made with him. However, by the time Roshi makes his way back to Fire Mountain, there's basically nothing left there anymore because he had taken way too long to get there. Obviously, Master Roshi feels bad about all of this, so he offers Ox King and Chi-Chi a place to stay at Kami House. Chi-Chi will also enter the Turtle School as Roshi's first disciple. Normally this would be the time Goku trains for the upcoming 21st Tenkaichi Budokai with Roshi and Krillin. However, Goku here has no knowledge of Roshi's existence, so he instead remains at Mount Paozu. Krillin will as usual arrive at Kami House, and after some bargaining with Launch as a bargaining chip, Krillin will become the Turtle School's second student. With this, Chi-Chi and Krillin would actually form a rivalry of sorts. Chi-Chi has a martial arts background, and similar to Goku, would always outperform Krillin. Krillin would actually develop a small crush on Chi-Chi, though unfortunately Chi-Chi doesn't see Krillin as anything more than a friend. 8 months of training goes by, with Chi-Chi and Krillin growing much stronger. Chi-Chi is also bestowed the Nimbus Cloud by Roshi, though this is mostly unimportant. With this, they sign up for the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai as usual. Grandpa Gohan and Goku were also there as well thanks to Cell. Cell wanted to see whether this version of Goku was strong enough to beat Roshi, because Goku had lost to Roshi in the original version of events. Meanwhile, Grandpa Gohan just wanted to see whether his old body was still up for fighting. Similar to Chaozu, Cell uses his telepathy to make certain changes to the tournament bracket, just to make sure that Goku would eventually meet Jackie Chun in the finals. However, because we have 2 new fighters entering the fray in the form of Chi-Chi and Grandpa Gohan, this tournament bracket would have to change significantly. Unfortunately, because Yamcha is still a desert bandit here, he will not be joining this tournament, so he's replaced by Grandpa Gohan. Because Ranfan is the weakest among the tournament competitors, Chi-Chi will replace her. So, the round goes as follows. Round 1 ends with Krillin defeating Bacterian as usual, nothing different there. Though round 2 immediately mixes things up. Round 2 is Jackie Chun versus Grandpa Gohan, a fight between student and master, though both are far past their prime. However, this will still be a very interesting fight as both have kept up with their martial arts skills even into their old age. Roshi was extremely surprised to see Grandpa Gohan here. After all, he hadn't seen him for almost a few decades at this point. Both Grandpa Gohan and Jackie Chun ready their stances as they prepare to duke it out. However, there's still one last uncertain variable left. Demon King Piccolo has been training in the hyperbolic time chamber for the past 8 months. Obviously, he hasn't trained in the hyperbolic time chamber the entire time. However, he has upgraded the hyperbolic time chamber such that he could stay in the hyperbolic time chamber for more than 2 years. So, he has trained for many years there. And now, has become accustomed to his new body. He decides that he will make a move after the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai ends and finally bring an end to Cell. Grandpa Gohan puts up a good fight, utilizing many of the techniques that Roshi had taught him. The after image technique, the Kamehameha, etc. However, Roshi still has more experience and cleverly neutralizes most of Grandpa Gohan's techniques. Though Grandpa Gohan did manage to catch Roshi off guard with a sneaky ki blast, Roshi barely manages to dodge out of the way in the nick of time, elbowing Grandpa Gohan in the back, defeating Grandpa Gohan in a ring out. Jackie Chun walks up to Grandpa Gohan to shake his hand, stating that this was an amazing fight. However, Grandpa Gohan had already seen through his disguise and instead asked Roshi why he had disguised himself. Roshi immediately shuts Grandpa Gohan up as he drags him away. Next up is a match that's gonna be really close between Nam and Chi-Chi. In the original canon of events, Nam had given Kid Goku a real tough fight, even though Kid Goku did manage to come out of top in the end. However, Kid Goku is obviously a Saiyan, and Chi-Chi is a human. Chi-Chi and Nam step onto the arena grounds. The tournament announcer yells for the match to begin. Chi-Chi rushes in, immediately going for a quick kick to the head. This makes contact as Nam is sent flying. Chi-Chi looks confused though. Nam had more than enough time to counter-attack. However, he simply stood there and took the hit. Nam stumbles back as he almost falls out of the arena. He grimaces. This little girl hits like a truck. He was having an internal dilemma. The person in front of him was just a small girl and Nam didn't want to hurt her. However, Nam also desperately needed the money for his village. As Nam has an internal debate, Chi-Chi worriedly asks Nam whether he's alright. Nam sighs. He tells Chi-Chi to just focus on the fight and not worry about him. However, Chi-Chi returns Nam's exact words back to Nam. Don't worry or care about anything. This was a tournament fight, and they should both be going all out. Nam widens his eyes in surprise. He nodded his head at Chi-Chi, preparing himself once more. Now the real fight begins. Nam focuses his eyes on Chi-Chi, his doubts vanishing. He nods his head as he goes in for an attack. His sudden increase in speed catching Chi-Chi off guard, allowing him to land a solid blow on her. Chi-Chi catches herself at the edge of the arena as she smiles and lunges back in. The rest of the fight was an intense one, with Chi-Chi and Nam going head to head. Eventually, Nam's injuries catch up to him due to him receiving the few hits from Chi-Chi early on. Chi-Chi also collapses in exhaustion soon after Nam, a split second actually, and the tournament announcer announces Chi-Chi to be the winner of this round. The entire arena roars and applauds. Goku looks at Chi-Chi in admiration. She was a good fighter, and she had a strong spirit as well. The fourth fight is Goku vs Giran, and I'm sure we all know how this is gonna end up. Goku completely embarrasses his opponent, knocking him out in one blow. Meanwhile, Grandpa Gohan and Roshi catch up on the sidelines. Grandpa Gohan explains that the kid there with the tail is his grandson, Goku. As Roshi watches Kid Goku fight, he wonders whether he himself could even handle Goku. Roshi's mission here was to humble his students, making sure his students knew there was always someone above them. However, he now knew that there was a chance he could lose to this Goku. Goku's speed was so incredible that Roshi even found himself doubting whether he could stand up to his power. Roshi excuses himself as he prepares himself for his next match against Krillin, which ends similar to canon with Jackie Chun winning, though it was still a pretty impressive match. Goku and Chi-Chi is up next, a good 8 years before their original first match in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. Goku and Chi-Chi step up to the tournament arena next. In this version of events, they have never met each other yet, though Goku does have a sense of admiration for the fighting spirit that Chi-Chi displayed in her fight against Nam. So Goku decides to entertain her a little bit. Sensing her ki, Goku lowers his power to match hers for a more fair fight. A fight that will be determined solely by techniques. Unfortunately for Chi-Chi, this match was decided before it even started. Goku has learnt many techniques from Cell, including the Kamehameha, the Solar Flare, etc. At first, Goku and Chi-Chi simply trade punches and kicks, both doing equally well since Goku had lowered his power. However, an after image technique followed by a well-timed Kamehameha pushes Chi-Chi right out of bounds. Chi-Chi and Goku bow respectfully to each other as the stadium roars in applause. Chi-Chi has literal sparkles in her eyes as she looks at Goku. Looks like she had developed a crush once again. Roshi, meanwhile, sweat drops looking at their exchange. He could tell that Goku held back. However, that further showed his martial arts prowess. Roshi thought he could outwit Goku originally. However, it looks like that would be a harder task than he originally thought. Next up, the final match of the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, Goku vs Jackie Chun. No longer a match between student and teacher, but a fight between two strangers in this story. In the original canon of events, Goku put up a good fight, until Jackie Chun put out his trump card, the Thunder Shock Surprise. That was when Goku looked at the full moon and turned into a great ape. However, in this version of events, things go very differently. Right off the gates, Goku goes immediately on the offensive, pushing Jackie Chun back. Jackie Chun, even with his superior fighting experience, has a hard time contending with Goku's superior speed and agility. Goku was small, and he made use of his small stature to its utmost effect, dodging, weaving between Jackie Chun's attacks, landing a few of his own. Jackie Chun even tries the sleepy boy technique to try to put Goku to sleep. However, Goku, being stronger than Jackie Chun, simply shrugs the technique off. Jackie Chun, not wanting to resort to the Thunder Shock Surprise just yet, uses the Drunken Fist. Initially, this weird style of fighting throws Goku off. However, Goku quickly adapts, causing Jackie Chun to go on the defensive once again. Having no other choice, Jackie Chun catches Goku off guard with a sudden Thunder Shock Surprise. Goku yells in pain as he falls to the floor. This was an extremely powerful and lethal technique. However, Goku immediately stands back up, completely unscattered. Jackie Chun stares in disbelief, shocked that Goku was completely unaffected. Taking advantage of this lapse in concentration, Goku suddenly disappears and reappears in front of him, landing a solid blow to his jaw, knocking Jackie Chun out of bounds. The crowd cheers as Goku is crowned the victor of the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. Cell, who was now satisfied, leaves the arena. However, that was when he felt a familiar key signature flying towards him. It was honestly giving him serious deja vu. Similar to how Kami confronted him originally, Demon King Piccolo stands in his way once again. Cell looks at him, utterly and absolutely annoyed. Was he really gonna try again? Demon King Piccolo, however, states that Cell needn't worry anymore. This time around, he'll give him a good fight. Demon King Piccolo powers up, and for the first time since his birth, Cell genuinely feels excited. Cell laughs in delight as he powers up as well. Both of them power up to their maximum as they stand across from each other. The entire earth shakes violently. Goku senses Cell's ki rise up and immediately jumps up excitedly. He wanted to go see Cell fight, however Cell was simply too far away. He also sensed an unfamiliar yet equally large power rising alongside Cell's. Goku couldn't believe there was anyone on the level of Cell's, but this completely threw all his beliefs out of the window. Cell and Demon King Piccolo finish powering up as they stand across from each other as they prepare to face off. Cell and Demon King Piccolo lunge straight at each other, their blows raining down, both not giving each other any ground whatsoever. Demon King Piccolo has a serious look on his face, however Cell was the complete opposite. He was laughing, grinning the entire time. Ever since his birth a few years ago, Cell has never had an opponent that could even give him remotely any challenge whatsoever. For Cell, this fight gave him a lot of exhilaration and joy. However, unbeknownst to Demon King Piccolo, Cell wasn't actually going at full power. In fact, he was using only about a quarter of it. Despite all the training that Demon King Piccolo has done in the hyperbolic time chamber, Cell was still way too far ahead. Keep in mind, this version of Cell is stronger than the Cell that confronted Piccolo and Android 17 originally. Even though Demon King Piccolo was already the nimblest Namekian, he still hadn't undergone the same amount of intense training that the original Piccolo Jr. went through. However, Cell was still deriving a lot of enjoyment from this battle. Demon King Piccolo uses Mako-sen, which is a 3-star Namek, to defeat Cell. Cell was able to use this Mako-sen to defeat Demon King Piccolo, basically a downgraded version of the Hell Zone grenade. As Cell focuses on the first Ki blast, the second and much more powerful one lands directly on him, literally blowing a hole in his chest. Cell coughs up blood, and Demon King Piccolo cheers inwardly. Had he done it? Had he finally defeated Cell? However, Cell merely smirks as he regenerates the wound almost instantaneously. Demon King Piccolo's jaw drops. Cell's regeneration ability was far more potent than his own. Cell decides to show off a little power. He couldn't underestimate Demon King Piccolo too much. Cell and Demon King Piccolo trade blows once again. However, this time Cell has the upper hand. Cell had thoroughly enjoyed this fight. However, it was time to end it. Cell lands a sucker punch right in Demon King Piccolo's guts, before appearing above him and kicking him into the ground. Cell then prepares Piccolo's technique, the special beam cannon, charging it and then launching it towards Demon King Piccolo. Demon King Piccolo, who was too disorientated to dodge, gets hit by the beam head on as it plunges through both of his legs, rendering him immobile on the floor. As usual, Cell aimed for a non-lethal spot, leaving Demon King Piccolo heavily injured, but still alive. He was really looking forward to their next fight. Popo then comes to pick Demon King Piccolo up as he brings them back to the lookout using the flying magic carpet. As Demon King Piccolo regains consciousness, he contemplates his options. It looks like the power gap between him and Cell was never going to close. If he was going to defeat Cell, he had to go down a different route. Popo suggests an alternative. He tells Demon King Piccolo of what he knew about his origins, of where he came from, what he was. And honestly, Demon King Piccolo wasn't really too surprised. He already had a lot of suspicions that he was an alien. Looks like he would have to pay his own race a visit. Namek King Piccolo and Popo uncovered the old spaceship that the nameless Namekian had travelled to Earth in. Namek King Piccolo enters the spaceship as he entrusts Earth to Popo's care in his absence. He then starts up the spaceship as he prepares to head towards planet Namek. Following the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, Goku and the gang gather together for a meal. Roshi expresses admiration for Goku's skill at such a young age. Meanwhile, Goku immediately busts Roshi's Jackie Chun disguise, stating that Roshi performed well in the finals as well. Chi-Chi and Krillin immediately turn their heads, looking towards Roshi for an explanation. However, Roshi had already escaped himself from the table. The first thing Goku learned from Cell was to sense ki, and Goku had already mastered this technique a long time ago, so he immediately saw through Jackie Chun's disguise. The gang talked for a little while before dispersing, with Krillin and Chi-Chi returning to Kami House and Goku returning to Mount Paozu. Though Chi-Chi didn't let Goku go before Goku promised to visit sometime soon. Following the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai is supposed to be the Red Ribbon Army saga. However, Goku had already taken care of the Red Ribbon Army earlier thanks to Cell. And without the existence of the Dragon Balls, Appa doesn't lose her father as they don't come across mercenary Tao. Nor does Goku meet and lose to Tao. This basically leads to a whole chain of events not occurring, including Goku not training under Korin or meeting fortune teller Baba. Afterwards is the 3-year gap in between the 21st and 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. Goku visits Chi-Chi and Krillin here and there, giving them some advice and tips, and even sparring them occasionally. This does give Chi-Chi and Krillin greater motivation and drive to train. Meanwhile, Goku and even Grandpa Gohan continue training with Cell. Just like that, 3 years pass by as the gang reunite once again at Papaya Island for the next World Tournament. The past few years have been extremely boring for Cell. Without Demon King Piccolo on Earth, his rival has essentially made a disappearing act, causing Cell to become frustrated. Unfortunately, Goku was still nowhere close to his level just yet. Meanwhile, let's check up on Demon King Piccolo. Similar to Bulma, Gohan, and Krillin in the Frieza saga, Demon King Piccolo had taken 34 days to reach planet Namek. As soon as Demon King Piccolo sets foot on the planet, he immediately spots his fellow race. They indeed looked very similar to him. The Namekians there welcomed him, though they were curious on who he was and how he got off their planet in the first place. On the other side of the planet, the Grand Elder sensed a familiar power. Impossible. That was the Grand Elder Guru's first thought. He was completely dumbfounded. There was simply no way. Neil looked puzzled at Guru's sudden shock. Guru communicates telepathically to the Namekian villagers over there, telling them to bring Demon King Piccolo here. Demon King Piccolo hears Guru's telepathic message as well. Not knowing what Guru wanted with him, Demon King Piccolo puts up his guard. It would be most prudent to play safe. Demon King Piccolo arrives at Guru's house, with Neil staring suspiciously at him before letting him inside. Seeing the Grand Elder, Demon King Piccolo bows respectfully. However, the Grand Elder greets Demon King Piccolo, calling him Katas' son. Demon King Piccolo looks up, a little confused. Katas, for some reason, was a name that sounded very familiar. However, Demon King Piccolo couldn't recall the exact reason why. This was when Guru explains Demon King Piccolo's true backstory. Born in age 242 to the Namekian Katas, Demon King Piccolo was sent off planet Namek to planet Earth for self-preservation, as planet Namek had undergone a natural catastrophic disaster. Now, Guru and Demon King Piccolo were the only survivors from that era. Demon King Piccolo had ended up on a distant planet where he grew up, while Guru had rebuilt planet Namek after that disaster. Demon King Piccolo absorbs all this information in, momentarily too shocked for words. However, he shakes his head. He wasn't here to learn more about himself. He stated to Guru his true objective here. He needed Guru's help. He would like to learn more about the Namekian race, and maybe in doing so, maybe in learning more about himself, would he finally triumph against the monster self. Guru motions Demon King Piccolo to walk forward as he places a hand on Demon King Piccolo's head. After looking through his memories, Guru agrees to assist Demon King Piccolo. Now, Demon King Piccolo begins his training in earnest. However, this is where we will leave off for now. As Demon King Piccolo seeks to improve himself, Goku and the gang progress onward into the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. How will this tournament go? How will the Cell's presence shake things up? Well, these are all questions we'll answer in the next part on Dragon Ball Z.